Hello, everyone, to the next part of the Wardley Mapping Spotlight interviews. Today, I have a pleasure to host Holger Gelhausen. Holger, could you tell us a couple of words about yourself?
Yes, I founded some companies in Germany, and we work for big major players and to migration of data centers and infrastructure. And the problem for me was in the past to talk to a customer. What is your strategy? And when I I think I developed five or six companies, and I was in a board of bigger companies, and I was also interested to tell my story in one page because when I leave the room, I have 50 slides, nobody can remember. And when I'm focused over the last 20 years, how can I how can I explain things easier and help my clients to decide to make better decisions. And this is my business to help clients make better decisions. I'm working in the field of strategy, of innovation, and organization design. And now it comes together, and it's not. I think you're old enough. For 10 years you have different companies. One is for strategy, one is for IT, one is for implementation. I think the time is over, and I work in this field, and Wardley Mapping helps me a lot in my view of the business.
Okay, so what are you getting out of it?
Ah, I made because in the preparation of our talk, I make a concept board and visual board. I looked in the values, but because when we talk to customers, you talk about value, and I have. It's three big points. It's functional value, because uh, it's when I draw my pictures, and I have a very very quick overview. This because 20 years ago I started knowledge visualization. I go to the customer not with 50 PowerPoints, with one slide, and I explain all the things in one slide. It was 20 years ago, and I can easy talk to customer in one page, and they remember me. They remember the Wardley map. And when you develop with a customer a Wardley map, they show this map to other employees in the company. And the value is, for me, it's um, it's easy. You need a pencil. Yeah, you need a pencil. You can draw every time a Wardley map, because I sit with a friend in a restaurant. I have a problem. Oh, let's draw a map.
Uh,
So let's draw a map. And I posted it on Twitter and a lot of map, because you can do it every time, everywhere, and and it gives you a clear overview where you are and where you can go, and and I like that, because I have a customer as a bank in Luxembourg, and we don't like to write 100 pages memos. And when you look today, but what's needed for strategy, and when I think you know a lot of the good strategy books, Richard Rummelt or Chet Richards, Certain to Win, and when I look at Richard Rummel, he's the kernel of a good strategy. What he means, he said, okay, you have to a status quo. Where are you? And this is the Wardley map. And when he said, in his easy words, he said, where's the main problem at the moment? And where's the main problem? And what kind of coherent actions you can do? And a Wardley map gives you an overview where you are, and I made in a presentation, but it's only in German at the moment. I have no time for that. 22 strategy approaches in Wardley Map. And what I developed, it was a good study for me, what Simon Wardley integrates a lot of strategy approaches. And then when I talk to my customer, I tell them, look here you see identity approach, and here sees a political approach, and here see the entrepreneur approach, and here see a transactional view, or the cultural school, and they feel safe, and they feel safe because it gives value to me when the company, oh, I never thought about this way. I never thought about this way. It gives you insight. From a selling perspective, for me, that's a selling point. When I want to sell my consulting work, it's a very good sales technique. It's a challenger sale. I don't know if you know it. It's you have to talk to a customer and bring him to new perspectives.
Yeah.
And not to give him the answer he wants, he have it in his head because some other consulting company gives him the question. Because you bring to the customer to a new perspective that he never saw about the problem in this way. And Wardley Maps helps to see in a different way the situation. And for me, that's a lot of functional value. No? And for me, it was a rebirth because I struggled so long to articulate strategy. And I struggled so long because when you look at Henry Mintzberg's strategy safari, when he talks about strategy, where are the blind people? The 7 blind people look at the elephant, and what is strategy? It's like the nose. And you struggle to explain strategy, but because it depends on my own worldview. Mm-hmm. Because how I look at the problem, how I look at the business, and so I think the best way is, it's only what Simon is saying, as my experience. You bring you not on the table, you bring the map on the table. And you can cut and have a big painter. Look here, what we are doing there, and you have orientation. I think that's the basic needs. When you talk about basic needs people have, and you want to be in the group, yeah, you want to be connected, and the other point is you want to grow, to learn new things, and Wardley Mapping. And the third is you're looking for safety, and when you look at Wardley Map, it helps because hey, let's show me your map. And also, what I think this is brilliant because it's very brilliant. It's not some I think very good point. But one of the brilliant points of Simon, he said, is he brought failures in the map, because when he said, all maps are false, are not right, because the perfect map of France is France. Because he brings, I wrote it on Twitter, I think a few months ago, he brings an ego correction. I'm not sure that my map is okay. And I have to accept that. And this brings the ego down. Because I was, I think 15 years ago, I helped people to buy other companies, and I was in the group to merger and acquisition. And one of the 5 big questions I always ask the manager and director: how can you control your own ego? What you are doing? That you get feedback? What's the question that nobody like? And with Wardley Mapping, you reduce the ego, and you're talking about the map, and this brings a lot of value. And the personal value, user value for me is it's a rebirth. I have new ideas. I like to play. I like to look at the things, and it brings me and also my customers to a new world. I was so happy. 2 weeks ago, one of my customers, a small German bank, 300 people, 400 people, and they used Wardley Mapping for their strategy. all I think it was 15 leaders of the management team built their own map. That was the exercise to the strategy event, to the strategy day, that everybody has his own Wardley Mapping. I was so happy about it. And that was very interesting. And they explained, they wrote in what was concept board, Miro, they wrote in concept board and they explained why we are not good here. And then with 15 people, you see the differences. You see the differences. And the managing director, because when he's working on a strategy, he never gets a feedback. He never gets a feedback because it depends on your culture. Because when you see German banks or German traditional companies, it's like in France, you have to follow the rules. In German, you have to follow the rules. And I know I don't know if you know, but I think it was a story. It was a quote from Mark Twain. When the German makes a revolution on a railway station, they buy a ticket. On the railway station. Yeah, and. You never get a feedback because when you're a top manager, normal cases, you have a loyalty group, and the loyalty group says, "Oh no, chef, you're not good. you're living in your bubble." And Wardley Mapping gives you an overview, and then in the bank, we had a lot of differences. And the differences were visible. And they talk about the differences, and then they make hypotheses. I don't know any, maybe I don't have the right English spelling. And they make hypotheses. What can we test now? Is it more left or is it more right? And then that brings me to Wardley Maps, a lot of value. The value for me is a personal value, and also for my customer, because I developed a lot of methods in the last 20 years, and the goal was, when I make a meeting with a customer, he has a result. It's not 2 hours talking. And when I develop a lot of play cards, I say, okay, look, what's the problem? Look here, make a play card. And with Wardley mapping, you can go to a customer, maybe you have a little bit prepared mapping, you have some pre-built exercises. What do you think? More left or right? How are you here? You have a result. You have in 2 hours in result, and that's unbelievable because it reduces the time. 10 days consulting or 2 hours Wardley mapping. And I like it. You see, you hear it.
I see. I mean, it's really important. I think somebody mentioned it in the past interviews that Wardley mapping speeds up the learning cycle, right? So it takes much shorter time to figure out what's the situation and how could you move, and that's why it's very suited for corporations today when they have realized that they cannot work with external consultants, let's say using 5 years strategy plans, right? Because it doesn't work. And I'm very happy to hear that it is the same story, but even more amplified in your situation, because it certainly promises that Wardley mapping can indeed shorten this entire cycle of learning and figuring out what's the situation. I love it, really. Holger, before the interview, you have mentioned that you have created your own framework about internal Wardley mapping, internalizing Wardley mapping.
Yeah.
Could you show it to us and describe it?
I think when we look at our world today and we see the problems in our world today, look about energy consumption or about carbon or waste, look at the oceans, about the plastics in the oceans. I think we can't solve these problems in the outer world with technology, because over the last 100 years, we use technology, and there's no way that we bring our lifestyle to the future and don't change it. What we have to learn, it's only a problem. It's also a problem for me because I grow up in freedom. I grow up in Germany in 30-day holidays, and you can buy this and you can buy this, and you hear of marketing, they said to you, oh, buy that and then you're happy. We have a lot of consumption, and when we look in the outside world, outside of our feelings, and yes, you can buy a lot of things very short and very quick. It makes you only a few seconds or minutes or hours happy, but you can't feel happiness. I'm not looking for happiness, but for the good feelings always outside. But because then you need more and more and more. And I found in my workshops, I think I must look inside my world what I really need. Because when I see my house, I bought a lot of stupid things. But it doesn't make sense anymore, because when we look at our nature, which we can live in the same way. And I was thinking about how can I use Wardley mapping to help me what I really need, and I am doing this. And you're gonna, I think it's an old experiment. I think in the mid of the 70s, and when you ask people, oh, is it very important for you to when you have garbage on the street to put on the garbage? And 94 I think percent said, yeah, it's very important to do that. But only 2% I'm do this. And because we have sometimes in our brain, we feel, yeah, it's very important for me, but I'm not doing it. And I think that's a difference. And I thought, I was looking about what gives me energy, what gives me what the values for me. The values I live, and sometimes I think these values are very important for me, but I'm not doing it. And there's a mismatch. And then I found a very good book about the psychology of life. It's a book from an Austrian researcher, and it's only in English. Psychologie des Lebenssinns is in German, because it means how senseful is your life? What do you feel? It's when you live, do you feel good? It makes sense. And when she wrote Tatjana Schaub, and she wrote 26 energy sources. And when you see here, I translated this, and with energy sources, yeah, and she makes a study about, and this study is, and this test, it's a labor test, is translated in 18 languages, and I put it here in English, and she said, okay, there's 26 energy sources. What are the most 5 important for you? And I said, okay, in my case, maybe I look for challenges, yeah, or I name different questions, yeah. So, and for harmony, I need to close to other people, and all the things. It was my aim is to live in harmony with nature, and I put 5 of them. And the problem was for me to say, okay, is it really a need? How can I measure this is a need, and how I'm doing that? And I said, okay, and I said for me, I put in different rows. Mm-hmm. I said how meaningful I experience my life. Okay, I'm here, it's good. I don't know how it feels. It's the best life, but I think it's good. No? I said, okay, I have here axis, x-axis, nothing is developing, good and best. And what is important for me? Yeah, and I said, my aim is to live in the future, and I'm very conscious that is very important. And when I feel inside me, how do I feel with this sentence? And it makes, I don't not good feel, because I take time for me. And I said, it is important for me, but it feels not good. I want to integrate my feeling. because it's in psychotherapy you have also method is focusing. What do you think in your body? But I want to integrate it into my body, and I said, I feel unpleasant. Yeah, and when I make a how can I achieve this? And I said, one of the points I can do is less consumption. And I said, the goal is clear. I feel it, but I'm not doing it. But sometimes I have to go here to do it more regularly. And I did it. This is the English translation. I have it in Germany, but this is the English translation. It's not the full map. I make a big map, but because I always make it, I translate it. And when I go to my 5 of this energy sources, and I said, okay, you always dream that is important for you, but more than half of the things you say you're not doing it. And and then I map my situation. I map how I feel, how is my energy sources, and what when I talk here, what are the inertia? what what is the thing I'm very clear about it. I'm coherent. I know. I have to integrate it. Then I can say, okay, what are the micro habits now? The micro habits I can use and I think. But the best thing was to integrate and look and say, let me look here, and the color to have this here. Yeah? Because
Right.
the feeling. It's feeling.
Yeah. It's a great piece of work. I like it very much. Holger, what would be your advice to people who are starting their adventure with Wardley Mapping?
Look, your presentation of the Wardley Mapping Germany. I think.
No, that's below the belt.
No.
That's below the belt.
It was a very good presentation, and your presentation about Wardley Mapping Germany and about how your experience was. In my experience, and I feel the same like you in your talk, and I put it in. I translated in German, and I read it because it was so much valuable information. But I can only one advice: start Wardley mapping with a small problem, and not with a big problem. Start Wardley mapping with not the biggest problem, not the biggest highest granularity. I don't know. Doesn't mean in English now, but look for a small problem and ask a little bit and not focus. And I see last week I make a design sprint for a bank, because in design sprint it is good way. Today I'm thinking about a Wardley mapping sprint, like the design technologies, methods, and there's also a map, but it's not a Wardley map. But people want too much detail information on the map, and when you have too much components on the map, you're struggled. You use a small piece, and I would use not in the first maps in a business area. So look about how to make coffee, how to make beer, how to make tea, and I mapped Starbucks. Because in my presentation I explain the Starbucks life cycle, how they move always to the right, and found some new products adjacent and explored, I think in English, and because this example everybody understands, and start with a small problem, and you can talk to other people, because you can talk to Starbucks with other people. Hey, what do you think of my map? And when you have some experience, when you go to the bigger business problems, but starts small. Not so frustrated, like a puzzle. Ne? Don't start a puzzle with 10,000 pieces.
I get it. I get it. Thank you, Holger. Thank you so much for finding time and being here. It was absolute pleasure, and hopefully speak to you soon. Thanks.
Okay, bye bye. It was a
Bye.
pleasure for me.